flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
And welcome into the Bonus Scoop Tuesday edition. Zolgad, of course, the star of the show, the Score North Scoop Master, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Jack of all trades, Darren Doogie Wolfson, and executive producer Declan Goff. And Doogs, lots to get to today. Let's get right to it, though, on the Twins. Mackie and I actually came up with the term, I believe it was born, reckless speculation, in like 2017 when we said that the Twins should explore trading Miguel Sano to the Tampa Bay Rays for Chris Archer. Who knew that in 2022 you wouldn't have to trade anyone to sign Chris Archer as a free agent pitcher for the Twins? Tell me how this deal came together and how close this is to being what the Twins envisioned when they continued their search for starting pitching after trading for Sonny Gray.
Good morning, Judd. Good morning, Declan. Remember, soon after Derek Falvey was hired, there is a Rays influence in the Twins front office, right? So connecting logical dots, Chris Archer, really good. 2014, 2015, maybe into 2016 somewhat. Not much there the last couple years, 2020, 2021, but there's some upside there based on the contract he signed. It's not a huge risk. So what happened, Judd, was the Twins have been engaged with the Oakland A's for a while, although, as I mentioned on Channel 5 last Thursday on my TV Scoop segment, those talks had gotten pretty stagnant. That Oakland just didn't seem to be in a place where they really, really wanted to do business. So the Twins had to pivot at some point with opening day now, 9 days away, a week from Thursday, that the Twins feel like, hey, we need another starting pitcher. Now, they didn't necessarily say that on the record when they chat this morning. I don't necessarily think they'll frame it that way, more along the lines of, we're always seeking to improve, that we needed a starting pitcher. But trust me, behind the scenes, they felt like they needed a starting pitcher. You will need a fifth starter pretty soon. When you look at the schedule, it's pretty tough early. There's not a bunch of off days. Like, you're going to need a fifth starter relatively soon. I don't know the exact date. I don't know if it'll be as soon as, because they're off on Monday, April 11th. Then they have the Dodgers here for that 2-game series. They have that off day on Friday, April 8th as well. But soon thereafter, after that Dodger series, you will need a fifth starter. So the Twins felt like, Judd, they needed to add somebody. They were engaged on Johnny Cueto, but I can just tell you they never made Johnny Cueto an offer. I can also tell you, Judd, I am strongly led to believe that Johnny Cueto does not sign here for what Chris Archer did in terms of the guarantee. $3.5 million guaranteed. Base salary this year, $275. With a buyout, there's a mutual option for 2023. If he performs exceedingly well, probably hard to see, but if he does, the Twins do have an option for $10 million next year. Otherwise, it's a $750,000 buyout. So the guaranteed money for Chris Archer is right in that neighborhood of $3.5 million. I'm just telling you, the Twins never made Cueto an offer, so it's moot, but my sense is Cueto doesn't sign for that guarantee. He would have wanted more guaranteed money to come here. And at this point, you can acquire Frankie Montas. You can acquire Sean Manaea, maybe eventually. I mean, I do think at some point Oakland is going to move those guys. When they do, the Twins are going to be right there. But at this point, for whatever reason, because I don't get it, frankly, after everything the A's have done going back months, I don't get why you would start the season with Manaea and Montas. Surely Manaea, who's a free agent after the year. But whenever the A's decide that they're open for business again, the Twins will be right there. The Twins were sent video by Archer's representation. They had video. There's all this data, TrackMan, all that. So they were tracking how he's been looking. So the Twins felt comfortable saying, okay, our options are pretty limited. Like, you look at the remaining free agent starters, there's not a lot to choose from, Judd. So it came down to, okay, Cueto, do we extend him an offer? Okay, no. Okay, who's the next guy on the list? Chris Archer. Okay, well, you know what? The slider has played before, even though it's not his best pitch, but we love that slider here. let's make him an offer, see if we can get this deal done. So that's how they pivoted and ended up with Chris Archer on Monday night.
Besides the A's, is there a logical pitching trade partner for the Twins, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think maybe Arizona at some point. You may have to take back some money. Possibly Miami eventually. I know the Twins chatted with the Marlins going back pre-lockout. I can't tell you that they've engaged the Marlins in recent days or in the last week plus, but I can tell you pre-lockout they did talk trade with the Marlins. But the Oakland A's are front and center, right? With Frankie Montas, with Sean Manaea. After you move Chapman, after you move Olson, after you move Bassett, what exactly is next? But I will note, don't forget the returns the A's got for those three guys. I thought the A's did very, very well. All three trades, all things considered. I'd be upset if I were an A's fan moving those pieces. But when you look at the packages, case by case, what the A's got back for those three guys, I thought the A's did very, very well. So that speaks to, especially on Montas, a guy with 2 years of team control, how much they want for him.
And are we thinking that that is probably a top prospect plus, like Royce Lewis type or an Austin Martin type and more, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something along those lines. Now, heck, would they have interest in a Louis Arise, who's under team control for many more years? Yeah. So maybe a guy that's had a cup of coffee, in Arise's case, more than that, in the majors. Or, somebody like Trevor Larnach, who's at least gotten some at-bats in the majors. But yes, I mean, we're talking, two guys, in the top 10. If you want to put Larnach and, some of these younger guys kind of in that top 10 mix. But when you think about two of the best Twins young players, whether at the major league level or in the minors, yes, you are looking at that sort of package to acquire a guy of Frankie Montas' status. Really good pitcher who you control through 2023.
On Archer, is the main concern at this point the arm trouble? Because I believe Duke, if I'm not mistaken, he was shut down pre-pandemic shortened season in 2020 because he had thoracic outlet syndrome surgery, which I think is the same thing that short-circuited Phil Hughes' career ultimately. And then he was shut down for a good part of last year, I believe, when he returned to the Rays with arm trouble. So, if there is a main concern there, is it just simply health?
It is. Now, he passed his physical. He's in Fort Myers. In fact, he was set to meet with the media. My colleague, we're down there right now. Joe Schmidt is down there. Funny how that works, right? Joe Schmidt in our TV sports office.
Why aren't you down there?
Gets the spring training trip. Yeah, unbelievable, right? Heck,
you're the scoop guy. You should be working the clubhouse.
I know. I need a better negotiator on
I'll represent you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm in the middle of a contract negotiation right now. So
hold on.
How that goes. So yeah, I may lean on you heavily here in the coming days post spring break, because I will not be chatting with you on Thursday. It's the kids' spring break, so we're gonna escape for.
Or is it a holdout? Dante Culpepper.
Well, maybe it will be a holdout. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily rule that out, but yeah. So Joe's down there. So Joe told me Archer was set to meet the media this morning. The Twins announced the deal, so we know that he passed his physical. The Twins have the video sessions of him throwing 60-plus pitches in his bullpen sessions. So they think he's in a good spot, but, if he's not, I mean, Judd, you're going to need how many starters over the course of 162 games?
You're right. I agree.
Heck, I mean, we've seen years where the Twins have used, 12, 13 starters? And I'm not even including, when you have a bullpen game, right, where you name the reliever, pitches the first inning or two, an opener type situation. But realistically, the Twins are going to need 9 starters over the course of this year. So at some point, some of these prospects will come up. Jordan B., Josh W., I believe the pronunciation is it Winder, not Winder? I believe it's Winder.
Winder.
Yeah, so Josh Winder, Jordan's last name, I've heard it 9 different ways. I don't want to botch it and get somebody going at me on Twitter or via email. So
no judgment
Jordan B. But, both guys are on the 40-man, right? So, both guys are front and center for an opportunity at some point. For sure, I see Winder up with the Twins at some point this year. But this now pushes back that timeline. Instead of Josh Winder now being in the opening day rotation, you can allow him to get his feet wet a bit more at AAA. He's barely made any AAA starts. So let's let him, even though he's an older guy, what is he, 24, 25, let's let Winder make a few starts for the St. Paul Saints before we call him up. So if they need to pull the plug, I mean, we saw it last year, right? Happ, Shoemaker, right? I mean, the Twins signed these journeyman type guys. Like, I don't think we should be throwing a parade based on the Twins signing Chris Archer, but they needed somebody. They've tried, right? Takes two to tango. They've tried to acquire Montes or Minaya. I've told you that the preference is Montes, but they would happily take Minaya. The package for Minaya seemingly is a lot less, right? 1 year of team control compared to 2, plus Minaya's price tag for this year. I doubt the A's would retain any money. So the price tag for Minaya this year is close to $10 million. Montes is more in the $5 million neighborhood. So the price for Montes is way more than Minaya. But the Twins would also take Minaya. So, like, at some point the A's, like, it's when, not if, right? Like, it's for sure a when. So when the A's decide to re-engage teams, the Twins will be front and center. But for the time being, they needed another arm, especially with Randy Dobnak now on the 60-day injured list. They needed another starter. Lo and behold, here we are with Chris Archer.
Do you think, too, really quick there, Judd, do you think also that with them lacking like that legitimate fifth starter, that we're probably going to see the classic opener? We're going to see maybe even early a lot more openers to start games than bullpenning stuff, doing the swing man from the 2nd through 5 innings. I feel like they're going to have to do at least some openers early on in April.
Well, it wouldn't shock me. Heck, Declan, you say they don't have a fifth starter. Do they really have a first starter? Right? I mean, Sonny Gray looked okay yesterday on the minor league field, but like we still even wonder about him. Now he's in line. The way it's lining up, he's in line to start April 7th against the Mariners, but there are question marks there with Sonny Gray. But yes, I mean, Declan, it sounds like the rosters will be at 28 players for the month of April, not 26. So every team, including the Twins, will carry an extra pitcher or two. Guys with the shortened spring training won't necessarily be all the way stretched out. So yes, all teams, including the Twins, are going to have to get creative at times. So that scenario you're laying out certainly would not surprise me. But nonetheless, like, I don't think starters are going to be able to go, 7 innings, right? Like, I don't think on April 9th, Declan, as you're pounding whatever beer is your beer of choice on Saturday, April 9th.
There's a lot of them, Dukes.
Yeah, well, I know there is. Or maybe it's a mixed drink with Grey Dog vodka, right? You're out in the left field bar area, but whatever it might be, as a new season ticket holder, as you're at Target Field on April 9th, like, I don't foresee Joe Ryan or whomever is starting that second game. Although Ryan's looked pretty good, I'd have no problem throwing Ryan out there in that second game. But whoever it is, like, I don't think we're going to see that pitcher go 7 innings, right? Like, just guys are not stretched out, so.
With Rocco?
They're going to have to get somewhat creative.
Rocco's going to be running from the dugout in the third to be like, I think I should take you out. I think I got to take you out. So, Duke, to pivot to the Vikings, to credit you as the scoop master, as I call you, I got a note from you late last week that said, check on the availability of a cornerback. I am hearing that the Vikings might be signing a cornerback, on Monday.
Yeah, they're not signing Cam Newton.
Lo and behold, no, and I'm okay with that. And lo and behold, we got news that that veteran cornerback Nate Hairston and also offensive lineman Jesse Davis were visiting on Monday morning, and by Monday evening, they had both signed contracts. So first of all, nice scoop, because you definitely had some steam. Second of all, I take it that Nate Hairston slots in as a backup special teams guy, but Jesse Davis actually slots in as a competitor and maybe going into training camp, the front runner candidate to be the right guard.
Yes, although nothing was promised to Davis on the visit. It's not like he was told, hey, sign this 1 year, $3 million deal. We are handing you the starting right guard job. He was told he has to earn that job. So there will be an open competition come when they put the pads on in August. But yes, Jesse Davis on board, Nate Hairston, history with new defensive coordinator Ed Donatel. Yeah, good special teams player, backup corner. I mean, I think there's a good chance he's going to make the 53-man roster, but we're talking, like, think about last year, Harrison Hand's role or Chris Boyd's role. Not necessarily exactly how Hairston's going to play, but just in terms of the snaps he may or may not get. We're not talking a guy that's going to make like this huge immediate impact. But yes, Donatel likes him a lot. Donatel pushed this signing in large part. The new Vikings offensive line coach has a history with Davis, so he had a lot to do with Davis landing here. The Dolphins let him go a few days ago. I know the PFF numbers portray Davis as about the worst offensive lineman in all of football. I'm trying to avoid hyperbole, but
right tackle, though.
Yeah.
In fairness, I think he's going to be off of that.
He nearly got
completely.
Tua killed last year.
Yeah.
Literally. That the numbers are, to say it mildly, alarming on Davis. But he does have some history going back a few years, but he does have some history of playing right guard.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we've established right tackle. No. Jesse Davis, you can't play right tackle. But right guard, maybe. So he'll compete, but nothing promised. I was also told on the Vikings front, Judd, that they've been working on a safety. Now, I'm not talking Honey Badger, all right? But a guy who has played, and my sense right now is it's more the player's agent pushing for this player to land here, that they love this opportunity. Hey, why not? Line up next to Harrison Smith, right? Like you look at it and say, okay, can my client beat out Cam Bynum for a starting job? Okay, I'll take those chances, right? So let me try to land my client there in Minnesota on a 1-year deal, reestablish his market, and we'll elect free agency a year from now. Much like it worked out for Woods, right? Like look at the contract Woods got in Carolina. Worked out brilliantly. So there are some agents of some safety saying, heck, look how it worked out for Woods. Let me see if I can land my client there. That the Vikings, at least my perception is, this is the agent talking, many agents in fact, saying, okay, like let me land my client there. That's a really good opportunity for my safety client. So, but the Vikings haven't hung up the phone, so that would be a position I'd keep an eye on in the coming weeks. Like I don't think anything is imminent, but just something I'd watch.
On the level of excitement with this potential safety, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would it raise from the fan base if this guy signed here?
4, 5. Okay. But at
not
this point,
awful, but not great. Okay.
Is there a remaining free agent? Like I don't see a scenario where Honey
Badger
I don't
have the money,
landing
dudes.
Here.
I don't think they just don't, right?
No, I mean
cap-wise?
At this point, we're still waiting for the official Thielen contract to be filed. And did Sullivan's contract get filed? I don't know if it did or not. Hairston Davis, we have some of the numbers. Both are 1-year deals, by the way. We're looking at approximately, when taking into account what the Vikings need to sign their draft class, somewhere in the neighborhood of $9 to $10 to $11 million of space. Now, if they wanted to do something on Dalvin's contract, on Kendricks' contract, my understanding is they could still do some stuff, but like they've already kicked the can down the road enough. Like how much more do you want to kick the can down the road? But they can create a bit more flexibility. But also, Judd, there's a lot of teams with cap space right now. Certainly more cap space than the Vikings. But there are a number, like I'm trying to remember the last handful of years. If we chatted on March 29th, do you recall going back 4, 5, 6 years, the number of quality free agents still on the board this March 29th compared to other March 29th? I just feel like
there's usually not.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, really, because I may be off on this. This is top of the head, but I do feel like there are more quality free agents still on the board today than there have been previous March 29ths.
And that could potentially create some panic and guys sign because for more reasonable deals because they're scared of actually not finding jobs. But
yes, although probably more so after the draft, not pre-draft.
On that point, I have heard, Dukes, that while on his podcast, Patrick Peterson has talked about wanting to return here, and I think the Vikings would take him back. I have heard that Patrick Peterson's price point from his camp is too high. So I'm not sure exactly what he's trying to get in as far as term and money, but it sounds like it's definitely not a fit right now for what the Vikings see as a a fair contract.
But it's a fit that I can eventually see
I agree.
reoccurring. Like, I absolutely can see Peterson eventually re-signing. But yes, I've heard some of the same chatter that, at least for right now, he's seeking a really healthy payday. And he was fine last year, but not like any sort of superstar. And it's not like he's playing on both sides. Like, he's a one-side corner, and he's fine. And if you're the Vikings, if you're Kevin O'Connell with playoff aspirations, I would take Patrick Peterson back. Yeah. But I'm just saying, there are some limitations there. So, like, he got, an $8 million base last year? He would have to take a nice cut from that. Like, the Vikings are not paying him $6-7 million. He's going to have to go lower. But, like, what are the options out there? He really likes it here. So I'm just telling you, I can eventually see that marriage happening again, but there's a ways to go to get to that point.
Dukes, at this point in time, do you feel like that on opening day of training camp, the quarterback room for the Vikings will be Cousins, Mannion, Mond, and a fourth guy, but that we're not going to see surprises there? Like, it feels to me like opening day, we are going to see Kirk starting, of course, Mannion backing him up, and I would guess Mond as the third guy again. Is there anything different from that you foresee being a possibility here?
Well, Mannion's going to have to earn it to some extent. Yes, I would make him the betting favorite to be the number 2 to start the year, but I still think he has to earn it, has to show us something in August. Let's see how Mond looks. They've done some draft homework. I mean, clearly, going back to the Senior Bowl, Mobile, in Indianapolis, not as much with these pro days. I mean, certainly they've had representation at these pro days. Heck, their assistant director of college scouting, Pat Roberts, was at the Liberty Pro Day to watch Malik Willis. He's pretty high up, pecking order-wise. But, like, I don't think they had a strong representation at North Carolina's pro day yesterday for Sam Howell. And, like, with just the way it appears, right, based on all their actions so far, like, they're not taking a quarterback at 12. I personally would take a long look at Malik Willis at 12. But reading the tea leaves pretty clearly, like, they're in win-now mode, and so I just don't see how they take a quarterback at 12. It's hard for me to see them taking a quarterback in the second round. So at that point, you've got Kellen Mond from a year ago from, pick 66. I don't think you're going quarterback in the third round for a second consecutive year. So, yes, it's probably more likely strong 2023 quarterback draft that you can look at next year's draft to grab a quarterback, not this year's.
I don't think at this point in time, as things are trending, Malik Willis Doogie gets to 12.
Oh, he may not.
I think he's gone before
Whether
12
it's Washington, now. Even though they have Carson Wentz now, maybe more so Carolina. But yes, I'm not quite sure he gets even to pick 12. You're right about that.
All right, Wolves scoops. We're up, we're down. Things are good. Things are. They lost the game to Phoenix, which I attended, which was, I would say, a very disappointing finish in that game. They lose to Boston on Sunday. I'm going to start you with this, actually. What are you hearing, and just from your basketball acumen, what is your take on the roller coaster that D'Angelo Russell seems to ride?
Yeah, I mean, going back 10, 11 games, the numbers aren't good. Now, his total body of work for the year, we take, right? Like,
correct.
If he duplicates next year what he's done this year, I think most Wolves fans would say, sign me up. But yeah, to me, it's more just about shot making. I've liked a lot of the looks he's had, and shots just aren't going in. So I'm not overly concerned. Where I would be a little bit concerned is the nightmare scenario I've been painting going back months. That it certainly looks like, especially after Denver won last night against Charlotte. So Denver is now too clear of the Wolves. I get it. The Wolves play at Denver on, Friday night. If the Wolves win that game, it changes the dynamic somewhat. But Denver has an easier schedule the rest of the way. Now, Denver, if you're Denver, you're not concerned about Minnesota behind you. You're trying to climb up. Like, look where Utah is right now. Look where Dallas is. Denver is only 1 or 2 back in the loss column of those two teams. Can Denver climb even higher because if you're Denver, if you're the 6, you're staring at the Golden State Warriors. Is that a favorable matchup if you're the Nuggets? This is presuming that Steph Curry is back for the playoffs. That's a bit of a mystery, but do you really want to play the Warriors with Draymond, Clay, and Steph Curry back if you're Denver? I'm not so sure about that. Would you rather take your chances with Dallas or Utah if you can jump up to the 5 seed? That to me is the favorable situation if I'm the Denver Nuggets. So I think the Wolves end up as the 7 seed. I've thought that for a long time. I still see that happening. The nightmare scenario is Paul George may play as soon as tonight. Paul George has made great progress. If he can get 5, 6, 7 games under his belt before the play-in game on April 12th or April 13th,
interesting.
Paul George is so good. I was at that game in early November. The Wolves built a 20-point lead. Paul George led the charge. Clippers come back, win at Target Center. Ty Lue is a top 5 coach. Ty Lue, the Clippers coach, is so good. Now, would I favor the Wolves in that matchup? Yes, because I think Target Center is a legit home court advantage right now. So I would make the Wolves the betting favorite. But I'm just saying, that is a tough matchup, a 7-8 game. So then, if you happen to lose that game, do you somehow end up seeing the Lakers for that last playoff spot with Anthony Davis back? And that game would be at Target Center. I would think the Wolves would be favored to win that game. But a one-game scenario with the officials, with LeBron, you know the NBA would love to have Lakers Suns again this year. Like, if that's a one-game winner in, loser out against LeBron and Anthony Davis, like, that would scare me. Now, I get it, too. The Spurs are like a half game back of the Lakers. The Lakers may not even make... Yeah, the Lakers may not even make the play-in. But I'm just saying, a one-game scenario where you're playing LeBron, potentially Anthony Davis is back, and knowing how the officials may officiate said game. Plus, if you win, you're staring at a 7-game series against the Phoenix Suns, the best team in the league. Like, I don't think that's a good matchup for the Wolves. So I'm trying to avoid the Phoenix Suns at all costs. Now, my favorite scenario is the Wolves end up playing Memphis in the first round, just because those games have been so entertaining this year. But Memphis is a really, really good rebounding team. I still think the Wolves could use somebody. They have that open roster spot. I don't get why they didn't sign anybody for this tough stretch. They're in the middle of this tough stretch, but pre this tough stretch, before the stretch playing Dallas twice, Phoenix, Boston, now Toronto tomorrow, Denver on Friday, I would have signed somebody, 8 to 9 days ago. But I was told, because Greg Monroe just went to Utah, all right? Remember, Greg Monroe was here earlier in the season. I was told that the Wolves, even though, Judd, there's like a 0.2% chance. That's my own estimation. Maybe somebody would go a little bit higher, but it's not much higher. That Taurean Prince has these incentives built into his contract that he's not going to reach. He really isn't. Based on three-point shot, defensive team rating, it's not happening. But if he hits those incentives, it bumps up where the Wolves are, up against the luxury tax. So the Wolves, even if it's a 0.2% chance, don't want to roll the dice, because if they sign somebody, then Taurean Prince hits those incentives, they would go over the luxury tax. Sachin Gupta would lose his job if they go over the luxury tax. Maybe I'm overstepping my bounds there a little bit, but there's no way Glenn Taylor is retaining Sachin Gupta. If somehow Gupta had the Wolves in the luxury tax, then Glenn doesn't get that $9 to $10 million of the pie. Remember, if you're under the luxury tax, the teams that pay in, the other teams split the money. This year, the money is going to be in the neighborhood of $9 to $10 million per team. Glenn Taylor is not sacrificing that luxury tax money. But I'm just telling you, I just don't see a scenario where Taurean Prince hits his incentives. So I would have signed somebody by now. But at this point, I just wonder if at the end of the year, the Clippers just did this with Amir Coffey, the former Hopkins High School star, former Gopher. I wonder if the Wolves convert Nathan Knight to a standard contract, because on a two-way, he cannot play in the playoffs. So if you want Nathan Knight, who knows the system, who's maybe a touch undersized, but I think Nathan Knight is an NBA player. If the Wolves want to, like the last few days of the regular season, that might be something I keep an eye on. That with that open roster spot, do the Wolves convert him from a two-way contract into a standard contract so he can be eligible for the playoffs? Because you may need another big body when playing the Memphis Grizzlies, if it indeed ends up being that, because Memphis at this point is pretty much locked in as the 2. So if you're the Wolves, you're going to end up in that 7-8 game. If you win that game at Target Center, you are then going up against the Memphis Grizzlies in a best-of-7 starting, later that week. So the play-in will be either April 12th, a Tuesday, or April 13th, the Wednesday. Now, if the Wolves needed to play a second game, that would be like April 14th, that Thursday. But the Wolves, if they make the playoffs, will start the playoffs as soon as that Saturday or Sunday, April 16th or April 17th. So everything is happening really, really fast. But we don't even have the schedule yet. Jed, we don't even know when the Wolves will play the Bulls on April 10th, a Sunday. Last game of the regular season. The NBA is not going to announce the starting time for those Sunday games on April 10th. A Wolves official told me yesterday until pretty much very last second. It might be April 8th or April 9th, but I don't think we're going to find out tomorrow the starting time of Wolves Bulls on April 10th. So we won't even get the play-in schedule until Sunday night, April 10th, or Monday morning, April 11th. More likely Sunday night, April 10th, where the Wolves may end up playing a home game on Tuesday, April 12th. So everything is about to happen really, really fast.
Darren, great stuff, and we'll talk to you actually not Thursday, but next week. Enjoy your vacation with the kids and the wife.
Sounds good, Judd. Go for basketball. It would be, put it this way, I'd be better off saving time listing you the players currently in the transfer portal that Ben Johnson, Dave Thorson, others have not touched base with compared to the ones they have touched base with. The Gopher basketball team has pretty much touched base with every good player in the transfer portal. What does that mean? It'll mean more if they can convince a player to either take a virtual visit, come here to the Twin Cities for a visit. That's when things will ramp up. But one name I would keep an eye on for sure, Mike Jones of Woodbury High School by way of Davidson. Davidson does not have a graduate program, so he averaged double digits. Really good shooter. Davidson in the Atlantic 10. They just made the NCAA tournament. He was a contributor, a key contributor for Davidson. He would make a lot of sense for the Gophers. Woodbury kid, right? So that would be one I'd keep an eye on. He entered the portal on Monday morning. Dave Thorson hit him up within 2 hours. So that just tells you how interested the Gophers are in Mike Jones, Woodbury High School in the portal.
Talk to you later, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.